Hi everyone, my name is Trigger Hell and you are watching first episode of my brand new channel, Voices of Hell. I'm very pleased to welcome my first guest, very good friend and veteran of UK metal scene, JJ Flames.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well today, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Excellent.
My first question is, you have quite a lot of activities in the UK metal scene. Please introduce yourself, tell us a little bit more about yourself and a little bit more about these activities.
Okay, my name is JJ Flames, but many people call me Jaff. You may know me from social media and other antics in life. I have been involved in music for more years than most people, I would imagine, because I'm slightly older than some people. I've been in a number of bands. I've been involved with promoting in the UK scene, necro events over the years. I've run Clobber Records, where we sign bands such as Devastator, and so you're wearing their t-shirt there, Strigger. And Wolf Bastard, amongst others. We put Abduction, we started with Abduction as well as our first release, who have gone on to do great things. So yeah, but music's obviously playing music and writing music and recording music is my main enjoyment, and that's the thing that has been consistent throughout. But certainly when you start to play in bands and you start to write and record music, as you know, you inevitably get involved in promoting and all the other aspects of music, because quite frankly, in the underground scene in particular, if we don't do it ourselves, nobody else will. So those that can should, and that's a good thing. So that's been my journey to date. Certainly more recently, my musical projects have changed. We'll probably talk a bit more about those in a bit. But yeah, I just, in every aspect of the UK scene, and as a fan, I mean, I go to a large number of gigs. I really enjoy certainly the underground scene, but also a lot of the big, touring bands and all sorts of, across a lot of genres as well. So yeah, music is probably my life. I do a lot of writing as well, like writing novels and things. So anything creative really, if you just got to keep creating in this life. I think if you stop, that's when you become a bit stale, stagnant. So yeah, if that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. My another question is, you have released with Shadow Flag 4 albums, with Gorgonchrist 2 and new is coming very soon. How do you see your musician's career with so many albums in retrospective?
I suppose you go a lot. I suppose, to be honest, we start way back before that. I first got into metal when I was at school, and I was listening to Poison at the time. Look What the Cat Dragged In, if you remember that. And a friend of mine came up to me with a copy of a tape, and he gave it to me and he said, "You have to listen to this because it'll be the heaviest thing you ever hear." And it was Metallica's Kill 'Em All. And I still remember putting that on, and I still remember that moment, my whole taste change in music. And that was about 1986, 5. So we're going back quite a few years. So at that point I became a thrash kid really. Thrash metal was my first love. Certainly in the 90s, although I was listening to a lot of, black metal and death metal, etc., and sludge, thrash metal was my kind of love because of where I come from. I played in a number of thrash metal bands in the 90s and into the early 2000s, recorded stuff with them, and then had a bit of a period where I probably wasn't doing as much with bands because, as happens to all of us, we have to get jobs and we work and we're trying to do music and you can't find the right people to do it with, etc. So then Shadow Flag began in 2011, and we had we kept going till 2020, when was the end of COVID too. Yeah, thank you, you know better than me. You've been studying, haven't you? So we were going for a good sort of 10, 11 years. And through that period, we released 4 albums. The first album was an epic poem with black metal parts within it, and then we did 3 straight black metal albums. Played an awful lot of good gigs. Really enjoyed playing all around the UK with some exceptional bands like, I don't know, Blaspheme, and all the other guys. We played with so many good bands. I mean, and a lot of them, which is great. I think this is one of the greatest things, is a lot of the bands we played with in small clubs here, there and everywhere in the British Isles are now doing great things. Bands like Abduction and Necronautical, The Infernal Sea, they've all, Trivax, they've all gone on to do great things, and we played with those guys in that period with Shadow Flag, which was, it was awesome because you make a lot of good friends through it and you meet good people. And we also travelled around a bit. We played abroad. We played a festival in Ukraine, which you probably can't do now. And we had a lot of fun. It was really good. We always, as was probably pretty obvious with Shadow Flag, struggled with the drummer situation, despite you being down the road, Strieger. And
sorry.
And so that was always an issue where we were always trying to. We had problems keeping hold of a drummer. COVID was a difficult time for everybody, as we know, and certainly in Shadow Flag terms, I think it gave us the time to reflect on where we were at, and we all agreed as a band that we felt we had done everything we wanted to do in Shadow Flag. So at that point, we decided to stop the band. Karps and I had already been playing around in a drunken stupor writing a thing called Gorgonchrist. That developed immediately, really, because we met Si, who was a friend who we'd known from around where we live for a number of years. He was keen to do a project. We were also both keen to do something that was more natural, wasn't necessarily trying to be black metal or trying to be anything. And we wrote stuff that now is what is Gorgonchrist now, which is very sludgy, very deathy, very grindcore. We incorporate a lot of irreverence into it. We won't call it humour. We're not trying to be funny. I think what we're trying to say is that a lot of extreme metal is about the extremes of emotion. It's about people who, it's about people who want to express that extremity. And that can be done in many ways. And the way we do it is by challenging ideas, writing songs about things that other people probably wouldn't write about, because at the end of the day, we can all write about Satan or, blood and guts, but we just wanted to try something different. We really enjoy it. It's very natural. We've never written anything down we've ever recorded. It's all been done organically. And we've recorded, last year we released an album, Fish in a Mountain, and then this year we've just finished an as yet unannounced next album. We went back to Derby, to Hellfire Studios, to our good friend Ajit, where we did a lot of the Shadow Flag recording. He's got a great setup. And we recorded there, and we've come out with an absolute banger, but we haven't released it yet. But we're just working on how we're going to do that at the moment. So yeah, but I'm also still involved in other projects. We obviously play in Nefarious Dusk with Paul Gibson. It's nice to be able to do something where certainly from my point of view, it's a band where you can just enjoy playing it. It's not something where you feel like you've got to move the band on. It's just if there's gigs to play, we go and play them. I'm also playing in Girdlier. First UK gig will be at the Darkness Over Cumbria event in July. Good friend Leon, who recorded Spellbinder, came out on Black Lion Records last year. Brilliant album. I've got a bit of a black metal side project I'm working on at the moment. So all sorts of things. It's nice to keep variety, really, and just enjoy everything you're doing, rather than feeling like you've got to do it for any reason other than you want to do it.
Absolutely.
So I think that's my musical. Was that answer the question, or have I
absolutely. Yeah.
rabbiting on?
I just want to add to this. How is your lyrical work and composing changed over the years?
I think, following on from what I was just saying, I think there's a temptation, and I'm sure we all do it, when you're younger, to try and sound like bands who you enjoy. Mm-hmm. And I think that's perfectly fine. That's the beauty of music. We get inspired by something. We want to be as powerful, be as ferocious, be as awesome as they are. And we try and do that. And nobody ever really achieves it, because when you've got, in the thrash game back in the 80s, when you've got Slayer and Metallica, nobody's going to be Slayer or Metallica, but everybody tried to be. But I think life, the experience of life, everything you go through, you probably realise the value of creating music to reflect your journey, which you can only do with time. That's why I think when there are bands in their 20s who come out with albums where everybody just goes, wow, what the fuck, how did they do that? It's quite unique, because you need quite a lot of life experience to write how you want to write. So I think life experience really, and I've evolved really. I think it's more natural now. I think we get better as players. We hear things a lot quicker. We hear what works. We hear what don't work. There was a time when, certainly when you're younger, you write stuff in a room, and because you've written it, this is the way it should be. But as you get older, you learn to go, actually, that's shit, innit? We're not going to do that. And you just forget about it and move on to the next thing. So I think that's how it's evolved. I think you become more grown up about it, and I think you always enjoy it, but it's certainly more fulfilling when you can do it in a way that is very natural and just is you, just creatively speaking. Hence, we write really stupid songs now.
My next question is, what kind of music or bands inspires you?
Oh my God. Throughout the years, so much stuff. I would say it kind of has gone sort of over time. I have periods. So as I said, I started with thrash. It was all about thrash. Then the thrash evolved into death. So started with Metallica and Slayer and Testament, Death Angel, bands like that. Then it evolved, Obituary came along, so I started the thrash got heavier. Black metal probably came later, and I think with black metal I started more in the atmospheric side of it. It wasn't kind of Emperor and Mayhem at the beginning. It became a landscape for me, and it was more art based rather than worrying about all the symbolism and all the everything that stood for at the start. But then since then I enjoy loads of stuff. I mean, I could put a Gary Newman record on 1 minute. I listen to a lot of dissonant stuff now. I've always loved the sludge thing. Bands now like Primitive Man, Worm Rock, bands like that are absolutely brilliant. I think black metal in particular it's had a bit of a resurgence. It went through a bit of a lull for a while, where I think it felt like everybody was doing something very similar. But there's certain bands in time that stand out of all genres, and we all know who they are. Like in the death metal game now, I think Gatecreeper are absolutely fantastic. They've sort of taken a sound and made it even more powerful than you thought it could be. In the thrash game, we had Power Trip, who I loved, but unfortunately Riley, the lead singer, died, so they may come back, but who knows. And then just certainly in the black metal scene, I would say because I know them and because we've played with them, bands like Necronautical, The Infernal Sea have just done great things, and I'm sort of, one, proud to have been part of that journey, but two, I really like what they're doing. I think they've produced awesome music.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I'm very eclectic. The one thing I would say is on my dying day, if somebody said, "What do you want us to put on at your funeral?" I think it would probably still be "Kill 'Em All" by Metallica, just to finish the circle, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I as you know, I listen to tons of stuff, and lots of stuff inspires me. I probably haven't mentioned 1,000 things that I should have done.
How do you think the world of metal has changed over the years, more as a listener than a musician?
Well, I think the world of music has changed, not only metal, because obviously as time goes on, we just have more and more and more of it. There's so many bands and so many albums. I think it's become more of a, it's an obvious thing to say, it's become more of a product, as in it used to be music, so the punk scene or the 80s, you know, music could become the soundtrack of life. I think now it's become something that goes with a lot of stuff that, you know, everything's about selling merch or adverts or TikTok or whatever the hell we're doing. It's all, the music's part of it, but it's still tied up in this bigger world. However, certainly in the underground scene, in metal, in all countries, that's where the true heart of it is, and I don't think anything's really changed. I think the problem we have is increasingly everybody wanted to be a musician and not just a fan, even though in the UK we have some amazing fans who just are fans of music. I'm a fan of music. But I think people have got, I think the metal scene got lazier. I don't mean any disrespect to anybody by that, but people used to have a inner fire to want to, they didn't want to miss out on gigs, they just had to be there as part of their culture, part of their lifestyle, part of what they stood for. Now it's very easy to go, oh bollocks, I won't go to that, I'll just, you know, stream the album or I'll go next time. So I still think it's very healthy. I don't think we should be negative about it. I think you and me both know that, you know, many gigs are very well supported and we all have a good, you know, it's a good culture. But I think everybody has to bear in mind that we have to make efforts to keep it alive, otherwise it won't be. So yeah, and I suppose a lot of other things have affected it in the UK, you know, leaving Europe and all that kind of stuff. It's affected the gig scene. But people will still go, but it has to be affordable. That's the thing. You get, you know, they're putting these big bands on in, you know, these fucking O2 venues and stuff, and they're charging you like £8 for a drink and all this kind of, you know, you have to make it affordable for people. This is creativity. This is, if we don't have creativity, other than breathing air and breeding, we haven't really got much else as human beings. The rest of it's all just bullshit we have to do to stay alive. So yeah, I think we do need more investment in it. And I also think, if you want me to really get me going, that you know, smaller venues need supporting. Smaller venues also need to remember that the scene is their lifeblood, and they need to make every effort to make it as special an experience as they can for people. We have, you know, I like the DIY scene, but we have fallen into a trap with smaller venues letting their places, some places go to sort of decay and then falling apart and then they have to close, if that makes sense. It needs investment and we need to support it, and that's what has changed over the years, because that support just doesn't seem to be there as much anymore.
Yes, very interesting. Trends in metal, how does it affect you?
Trends in metal? Anything that's a trend I usually fucking hate. So as in like new genres, new, is that what you mean? Like stuff, I mean, anything that, we have all the cores, don't we? The death cores, the metal core. I mean, I never like any of that, most of it. I find it detracts from, it's trying to reinvent something that was okay to start with. Why fix what's not broken, if it was the old phrase. I try not to go with, I'm usually late to the party, to be honest. Normally I'm the one who just sticks with what I like until suddenly I'm like, oh yeah, that was alright, but everybody was into it 8 months ago or whatever. But some trends are very good. You know, I mean, it really just depends. If it's within something you're already very passionate about, then you tend to go with it. I just wish there was a trend for people to go to more gigs. That would be the best trend. So yeah, not particularly, I guess. I think I'm my own person.
Oh, okay, thank you. Do you have to force yourself to write song or lyrics, or is it come natural?
I think, well, musically, I tend to, because I am a bass player, I tend to start with the bass line normally, and then work out where I want guitars and everything to go from there. So I think that bit comes quite naturally. Certainly when I'm writing and recording music, the part I find a bit tedious is when you've got a song and then you are trying to play around with the dynamics of it to make it flow and be interesting to listen to. Sometimes that can get a bit laborious. Lyrics come really quite easily. I enjoy writing words. The Gorgonchrist lyrics in particular are, I mean, we will start to try and do some social media stuff where people can read the lyrics, because some of them are quite funny. Carbs writes some, I write some. So yeah, I find lyrics very simple. Music, yeah, I mean, and again, in life, it depends where you're at. Sometimes you get into something and it all just flows. Other times, but then if it doesn't flow, then maybe either it's not the right time or it's not the right thing. You know? And you have to be honest about that and go, "Then this is working." I can't write drums, so you can. Well, I can write drums, but I can't play them.
Okay, let's go back to new album.
Yes.
When it's coming out, and what do you have prepared for the fans for the rest of the year?
Okay, the new album, we're not sure yet. We have sent it to a couple of labels to see what they think of it. If they are not interested, then I think we will carry on and release it ourselves anyway. Because it's kind of grindcore-y sludge death, we really need a label that's more in tune with that. We're not going to put it on a black metal label because that would be stupid. We've got an awesome cover because of the name of it, which I can't say yet, but I think people will look at it and go, "Oh, interesting, I think I need to listen to that, it's very different." So hopefully it's going to come out, I mean, I would say hopefully in the summer. It's a full length, 43 minutes, I think. So then we will start to play as many shows as possible in support of that album. We're playing, what we got coming up? We're playing in Birmingham next week, and then we're playing at Boom in Leeds with Fetal Juice in June, and then we're playing Beermageddon again after a number of years in August. And then we've got other things that we're just organising at the moment. We certainly would like to start putting some runs of dates together to support the new album. It just really depends how we release it. But yeah, I mean, the one thing we've always said is we want to try and play Gorgonchrist in every county of England, Scotland and Wales if we can. But you have to try and find venues to do that.
Absolutely.
But it's always fun to play. We have a lot of fun when we go away playing it, and we do it for the love of it. To be honest, that's the great thing about Gorgonchrist is we're not unlike other bands and projects I've been involved in, and we all have been involved in, where you're thinking, you know, we need to. It's all about expanding your audience, but we actually just also go in just because we want to have a laugh doing it, which is good. That's a really good thing to do. So if we play to 10 people or 200 people, it doesn't really matter, because I think the same experience is there, which is good.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, lots of things. It's a bit of a difficult time at the moment. Not difficult, but it's hard to answer the question completely because I don't quite know how we're going to release the album yet. But we should know that in the next month or so.
I think that. Thank you for your time and interesting words. I hope you all enjoyed first episode of Voices of Hell. Please follow, like and share. Stay cool, stay dark, and remember to support your local scene.